Bangladesh. Officially the People's Republic of Bangladesh, is a country in South Asia. It is the 8th most populous country in the world, with a population exceeding 163 million people. In an area of 147,570 square kilometers, 56,980 square miles, making it one of the most densely populated countries in the world. Bangladesh shares land borders with India to the west, north, and east, Myanmar to the southeast, and the Bay of Bengal to the south. It is narrowly separated from Nepal and Bhutan by the Siliguri Corridor, and from China by Sikkim, in the north, respectively. Dhaka, the capital and largest city, is the nation's economic, political, and cultural hub. Chittagong, the largest seaport, is the second largest city. Bangladesh forms the larger and eastern part of the Bengal region. 16. According to the ancient Indian texts, Ramayana and Mahabharata, the Vanga kingdom, one of the namesakes of the Bengal region, was a strong naval power. In the ancient and classical periods of the Indian subcontinent, the territory was home to many principalities, including the Pundra, Gangaridai, Gauda, Samatata, and Harakala. It was also a Mauryan province under the reign of Ashoka. The principalities were notable for their overseas trade, contacts with the Roman world, the export of fine muslin and silk to the Middle East, and spreading of philosophy and art to Southeast Asia. The Gupta Empire, Pala Empire, the Chandra dynasty, and the Sanar dynasty were the last pre-Islamic Bengali Middle Kingdoms. Islam was introduced during the Pala Empire, through trade with the Abbasid Caliphate, 17, but following the Ghurid conquests led by Bakhtiar Khalji, the establishment of the Delhi Sultanate and preaching of Shah Jalal in the northeast. After the decline of the British Bengal Presidency, the borders of modern Bangladesh were established with the partition of Bengal in August 1947 at the time of partition of India. When the region became East Pakistan as a part of the newly formed Dominion of Pakistan. 21. Later the rise of a pro-democracy movement thrived on Bengali nationalism and self-determination, leading to the Liberation War and eventually resulted in the emergence of Bangladesh as a sovereign and independent nation in 1971. The exact origin of the word Bangla is unknown, though it is believed to come from Vanga, an ancient kingdom and geopolitical division on the Ganges Delta in the Indian subcontinent. It was located in southern Bengal, with the core region including present-day southwestern Bangladesh and southern West Bengal, India. In Abrahamic tradition, it is said to have come from Bung. The exact origin of the word Bangla is unknown, though it is believed to come from Vanga, an ancient kingdom and geopolitical division on the Ganges Delta in the Indian subcontinent. It was located in southern Bengal, with the core region including present-day southwestern Bangladesh and southern West Bengal, India. In Abrahamic tradition, it is said to have come from Bung. Other theories point to a Bronze Age Proto-Dravidian tribe. 32. The Ostric word, Bonga, sun god. 33. Self-published source. And the Iron Age Vanga kingdom. 33. The Indo-Aryan suffix desh is derived from the Sanskrit word desha, which means land, or country. Hence, the name Bangladesh means land of Bengal, or country of Bengal. 34. The term Bangla denotes both the Bengal region and the Bengali language. The earliest known usage of the term is the Nasari plate in 805 AD. The term Vangaladesa is found in 11th century South Indian records. 34, 35. The term gained official status during the Sultanate of Bengal in the 14th century. 36, 37. Shamsuddin Ilyas Shah proclaimed himself as the first Shah of Bangala in 1342. 36. The word Bangla became the most common name for the region during the Islamic period. The Portuguese referred to the region as Bengala in the 16th century. 38. The term Bangladesh was often written as two words, Bangladesh, in the past. Starting in the 1950s, Bengali nationalists used the term in political rallies in East Pakistan. Stone Age tools found in Bangladesh indicate human habitation for over 20,000 years. 39. And remnants of Copper Age settlements date back 4,000 years. 39. Ancient Bengal was settled by Austroasiatics, Tibeto-Burmans, Dravidians and Indo-Aryans in consecutive waves of migration. 39. 40. Archaeological evidence confirms that by the 2nd millennium BCE, rice-cultivating communities inhabited the region. By the 11th century people lived in systemically aligned housing, buried their dead, and manufactured copper ornaments and black and red pottery. 41. The Ganges, Brahmaputra and Meghna rivers were natural arteries for communication and transportation. 41. And estuaries on the Bay of Bengal permitted maritime trade. The early Iron Age saw the development of metal weaponry, coinage, agriculture and irrigation. 41. Major urban settlements formed during the late Iron Age. In the mid-1st millennium BCE, 42, when the northern black polished ware culture developed. 43. In 1879, Alexander Cunningham identified Mahasthangar as the capital of the Pundra kingdom mentioned in the Rig Veda. 44. 45. The oldest inscription in Bangladesh was found in Mahasthangar and dates from the 3rd century BCE. It is written in the Brahmi script. Greek and Roman records of the ancient Gangaridai kingdom, which, according to legend, deterred the invasion of Alexander the Great. A link to the fort city in Wari Bateshwar. 47, 48. The site is also identified with the prosperous trading center of Suanagora listed on Ptolemy's world map. 49. Roman geographers noted a large seaport in southeastern Bengal, corresponding to the present-day Chittagong region. Ancient Buddhist and Hindu states which ruled Bangladesh included the Vanga, Samatata and Pundra kingdoms, the Mauryan and Gupta empires, the Varman dynasty, Shashanka's kingdom, the Khadga and Kandra dynasties, the Pala Empire, the Senar dynasty, the Harakala kingdom and the Deva dynasty. These states had well-developed currencies, banking, shipping, architecture and art. And the ancient universities of Bikrampur and Minamati hosted scholars and students from other parts of Asia. Xuanzang of China was a noted scholar who resided at the Somapura Mahavihara, the largest monastery in ancient India, and Atisa traveled from Bengal to Tibet to preach Buddhism. The earliest form of the Bengali language began to emerge during the 8th century. Early Muslim explorers and missionaries arrived in Bengal late in the 1st millennium CE. The Islamic conquest of Bengal began with the 1204 Ghurid expeditions led by Muhammad bin Bakhtiar Khalji. 41. Bengal was then ruled by the Delhi Sultanate for a century by governors from the Mamluk, Balban, and Tughlaq dynasties. Subsequently, The independent Bengal Sultanate was established by the rebel governors in 1352. During their rule, Bengal was transformed into a cosmopolitan Islamic superpower and became a major trading nation in the world. Often referred by the Europeans as the richest country to trade with. 51. The Sultanate's ruling houses included the Ilyas Shahi, Ganesha, Hussein Shahi, Suri and Karani dynasties. And the era saw the introduction of a distinct mosque architecture. 52. And the Tanka currency. Citation needed. The Arakan region was brought under Bengali hegemony. The Bengal Sultanate was visited by explorers Ibn Battuta, Admiral Zhenghi, and Niccolo de Conti. The Khorasanis referred to the land as an inferno full of gifts. Due to its unbearable climate but abundance of wealth. 53. Full citation needed. During the late 16th century, the Baro Buyan, a confederation of Muslim and Hindu aristocrats, ruled eastern Bengal. Its leader was the Mansad-e-Ala. 54. A title held by Isa Khan and his son Musa Khan. The Khan dynasty is considered local heroes for resisting North Indian invasions with their river navies. The Mughal Empire controlled Bengal by the 17th century. During the reign of Emperor Akbar, the Bengali agrarian calendar was reformed to facilitate tax collection. The Mughals established Dhaka as a fort city and commercial metropolis, and it was the capital of Bengal Suba for 75 years. 55. In 1666, the Mughals expelled the Arakanis from Chittagong. Mughal Bengal attracted foreign traders for its muslin and silk goods, and the Armenians were a notable merchant community. A Portuguese settlement in Chittagong flourished in the southeast, and a Dutch. The Bengali Muslim population was a product of conversion and religious evolution. 41, and their pre-Islamic beliefs included elements of Buddhism and Hinduism. The construction of mosques, Islamic academies, madrasas, and Sufi monasteries, khanqahs, facilitated conversion, and Islamic cosmology played a significant role in developing Bengali Muslim society. Scholars have theorized that Bengalis were attracted to Islam by its egalitarian social order, which contrasted with the Hindu caste system. 70. One of the notable Muslim preachers was Shah Jalal, who arrived in the region of Sylhet in 1303 with many other disciples to preach the religion to the people. Citation needed. By the 15th century, Muslim poets were writing in the Bengali language. Notable medieval Bengali Muslim poets included Daulat Qazi, Abdul Hakim and Alaul. Syncretic cults, such as the Baul movement, emerged on the fringes of Bengali Muslim society. The Persianate culture was significant in Bengal, where cities like Sonargaon became the easternmost centers of Persian influence. 71. 72. The Mughals had aided France during The Mughals had aided France during the 7 Years' War to avoid losing the Bengal region to the British. However, in the Battle of Plassey, the British East India Company registered a decisive victory over the Nawab of Bengal and his French 73 allies on the 22nd of June 1757, under the leadership of Robert Clive. The battle followed the order of Siraj-ud-Dowla, the last independent Nawab of Bengal, to the English to stop the extension of their fortification. Robert Clive bribed Mir Jafar, the commander-in-chief of the Nawab's army, and also promised him to make him Nawab of Bengal, which helped him to defeat Siraj-ud-Daulah and capture Calcutta. 74. The battle consolidated the company's presence in Bengal, which later expanded to cover much of India over the next 100 years. Although they had lost control of Bengal Suba, Shah Alam II was involved in the Bengal War, which ended once more in their defeat at the Battle of Buxar. Colonial period main articles: Bengal Presidency and Eastern Bengal and Assam Portuguese, top left, at the royal court of Emperor Akbar. 2 decades after Vasco da Gama's landing in Calicut, the Bengal Sultanate gave permission for the Portuguese settlement in Chittagong to be established in 1528. It became the first European colonial enclave in Bengal. The Bengal Sultanate lost control of Chittagong in 1531 after Arakan declared independence and the established kingdom of Imrauq. Portuguese ships from Goa and Malacca began frequenting the port city in the 16th century. The Cartaz system was introduced and required all ships in the area to purchase naval trading licenses from the Portuguese settlement. Slave trade and piracy flourished. The nearby island of Sanwip was conquered in 1602. In 1615, the Portuguese navy defeated a joint Dutch East India Company and Arakanese fleet near the coast of Chittagong. The Bengal Sultan after 1534 allowed the Portuguese to create several settlements at Chittagong, Satgaon, 76, Huli, Bandel, and Dhaka. In 1535 the Portuguese allied with the Bengal Sultan and held the Teliagari Pass 280 km from Patna, helping to avoid the invasion by the Mughals. By then several of the products came from Patna and the Portuguese sent in traders, establishing a factory there since 1580. 77. By the time the Portuguese assured military help against Sher Shah, the Mughals already had started to conquer the Sultanate of Ghiyasuddin Mahmud. After the 1757 Battle of Plassey, Bengal was the first region of the Indian subcontinent conquered by the British East India Company. The company formed the Presidency of Fort William, which administered the region until 1858. A notable aspect of company rule was the permanent settlement, which established the feudal zamindari system. 84. The plunder of Bengal directly contributed to the Industrial Revolution in Britain, with the capital amassed from Bengal used to invest in British industries such as textile and greatly increase British wealth, while at the same time leading to deindustrialization of Bengal's traditional textile industry. 85. 19. The economic mismanagement directly led to the Great Bengal Famine of 1770, which is estimated to have caused the deaths of about 10 million people. 86. As a third of the population in the affected region starved to death. 87. Several rebellions broke out during the early 19th century, including one led by Titomir. But British rule displaced the Muslim ruling class. A conservative Islamic cleric, Haji Shariatullah, sought to overthrow the British by propagating Islamic revivalism. 88. Several towns in Bangladesh participated in the Indian Rebellion of 1857-89, and pledged allegiance to the last Mughal emperor, Bahadur Shah Zafar, who was later exiled to neighbouring Burma. The challenge posed to company rule by the failed Indian Mutiny led to the creation of the British Indian Empire as a crown colony. The British established several schools, colleges, and a university in what is now Bangladesh. Syed Ahmed Khan and Ram Mohan Roy promoted modern and liberal education in the subcontinent, inspiring the Aligarh movement, 90, and the Bengal Renaissance, 91. During the late 19th century, novelists, social reformers and feminists emerged from Muslim Bengali society. Electricity and municipal water systems were introduced in the 1890s. Cinemas opened in many towns during the early 20th century. East Bengal's plantation economy was important to the British Empire, particularly its jute and tea. The British established tax-free river ports, such as the port of Narayanganj, and large seaports like the port of Chittagong. Bengal had the highest gross domestic product in British India. 92. Bengal was one of the first regions in Asia to have a railway. The first railway in what is now Bangladesh began operating in 1862. 93. In comparison, Japan saw its first railway in 1872. The main railway companies in the region were the Eastern Bengal Railway and Assam Bengal Railway. Railways competed with waterborne transport to become one of the main mediums of transport. Supported by the Muslim aristocracy, the British government created the province of Eastern Bengal and Assam in 1905. The new province received increased investment in education, transport, and industry. 95. However, the first partition of Bengal created an uproar in Calcutta and the Indian National Congress. In response to growing Hindu nationalism, the All India Muslim League was formed in Dhaka during the 1906 All India Mohammedan Educational Conference. The British government reorganised the provinces in 1912, reuniting East and West Bengal and making Assam a second province. The Raj was slow to allow self-rule in the colonial subcontinent. It established the Bengal Legislative Council in 1862. And the council's native Bengali representation increased during the early 20th century. The Bengal Provincial Muslim League was formed in 1913 to advocate civil rights for Bengali Muslims within a constitutional framework. During the 1920s, the League was divided into factions supporting the Khilafat movement and favoring cooperation with the British to achieve self-rule. Segments of the Bengali elite supported Mustafa Kemal Ataturk's secularist forces. 96. In 1929, the All Bengal Tenants Association was formed in the Bengal Legislative Council to counter the influence of the Hindu landed gentry. And the Indian independence and Pakistan movements strengthened during the early 20th century. After the Morley-Minto reforms and the Diarchy era in the legislatures of British India, the British government promised limited provincial autonomy in 1935. The Bengal Legislative Assembly, British India's largest legislature, was established in 1937. Although it won a majority of seats in 1937, the Bengal Congress boycotted the legislature. A.K. Fazlul Huq of the Krishak Praja Party was elected as the first Prime Minister of Bengal. In 1940, Huq supported the Lahore Resolution, which envisaged independent states in the northwestern and eastern Muslim-majority regions of the subcontinent. The first Huq ministry, a coalition with the Bengal Provincial Muslim League, lasted until 1941. It was followed by a Huq coalition with the Hindu Mahasabha which lasted until 1943. Huq was succeeded by Khawaja Natsamuddin. who grappled with the effects of the Burma Campaign, the Bengal famine of 1943, which killed up to 3 million people, 97, and the Quit India movement. In 1946, the Bengal Provincial Muslim League won the provincial election, taking 113 of the 250-seat assembly, the largest Muslim League mandate in British India. H.S. Sohrawardy, who made a final futile effort for a united Bengal in 1946, was the last Premier of Bengal. Partition of Bengal, 1947. Main article, Partition of Bengal, 1947. Prime Ministers of Bengal A.K. Fazlul Huq, Khawaja Natsimuddin and H.S. Sohrawardy. One of them, Sohrawardy, proposed an independent Bengal in 1947. On 3 June 1947, the Mountbatten Plan outlined the partition of British India. On 20 June, the Bengal Legislative Assembly met to decide on the partition of Bengal. At the preliminary joint meeting, it was decided, 120 votes to 90, that if the province remained united it should join the Constituent Assembly of Pakistan. At a separate meeting of legislators from West Bengal, it was decided, 58 votes to 21, that the province should be partitioned and West Bengal should join the Constituent Assembly of India. At another meeting of legislators from East Bengal, it was decided, 106 votes to 35, that the province should not be partitioned and 107 votes to 34, that East Bengal should join the Constituent Assembly of Pakistan if Bengal was partitioned. 98. On 6 July, the Sylhet region of Assam voted in a referendum to join East Bengal. Cyril Radcliffe was tasked with drawing the borders of Pakistan and India, and the Radcliffe Line established the borders of present-day Bangladesh. Union with Pakistan. Main articles, East Bengal and East Pakistan. The Dominion of Pakistan in 1947, with East Bengal its eastern part. The Dominion of Pakistan was created on 14 August 1947. East Bengal, with Dhaka as its capital, was the most populous province of the 1947 Pakistani Federation, led by Governor-General Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who promised freedom of religion and secular democracy in the new state. 99-100. East Bengal was also Pakistan's most cosmopolitan province, home to peoples of different faiths, cultures and ethnic groups. Partition gave increased economic opportunity to East Bengalis, producing an urban population during the 1950s. Khawaja Natsimuddin was East Bengal's first chief minister, with Frederick Chalmers born its governor. The All-Pakistan Awami Muslim League was formed in 1949. In 1950, the East Bengal Legislative Assembly enacted land reform, abolishing the permanent settlement and the zamindari system. 103. The 1952 Bengali language movement was the first sign of friction between the country's geographically separated wings. The Awami Muslim League was renamed the more secular Awami League in 1953. 104. The first Constituent Assembly was dissolved in 1954. This was challenged by its East Bengali speaker, Maulvi Tamizuddin Khan. The United Front coalition swept aside the Muslim League in a landslide victory in the 1954 East Bengali legislative election. The following year, East Bengal was renamed East Pakistan as part of the One Unit program, and the province became a vital part of the Southeast Asia Treaty Organization. Pakistan adopted its first constitution in 1956. 3 Bengalis were its prime minister until 1957, Natsimuddin, Muhammad Ali of Bogra and Suhrawardi. None of the 3 completed their terms and resigned from office. The Pakistan Army imposed military rule in 1958, and Ayub Khan was the country's strongman for 11 years. Political repression increased after the coup. Khan introduced a new constitution in 1962, replacing Pakistan's parliamentary system with a presidential and gubernatorial system, based on electoral college selection, known as basic democracy. In 1962, Dhaka became the seat of the National Assembly of Pakistan, a move seen as appeasing increased Bengali nationalism. 105, the Pakistani government built the controversial Kaptai Dam, displacing the Chakma people from their indigenous homeland in the Chittagong Hill Tracts. 106, during the 1965 presidential election, Fatima Jinnah lost to Ayub Khan despite support from the combined opposition alliance, which included the Awami League. 107, the Indo-Pakistani War of 1965 blocked cross-border transport links with neighboring India in what is described as a second partition. 108. In 1966, Awami League leader Sheikh Mujibur Rahman announced a 6-point movement for a federal parliamentary democracy. U.S. Chief Justice Earl Warren meets Maulvi Tamizuddin Khan. The plaintiff in Federation of Pakistan v. Maulvi Tamizuddin Khan. According to senior World Bank officials, Pakistan practiced extensive economic discrimination against East Pakistan. Greater government spending on West Pakistan, financial transfers from East to West Pakistan, the use of East Pakistan's foreign exchange surpluses to finance West Pakistani imports, and refusal by the central government to release funds allocated to East Pakistan because the previous spending had been under budget. 109, though East Pakistan generated 70% of Pakistan's export revenue with its jute and tea. 110, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was arrested for treason in the Agartala conspiracy case and was released during the 1969 uprising in East Pakistan, which resulted in Ayub Khan's resignation. General Yahya Khan assumed power, reintroducing martial law. Ethnic and linguistic discrimination was common in Pakistan's civil and military services, in which Bengalis were underrepresented. 15% of Pakistani central government offices were occupied by East Pakistanis, who formed 10% of the military. 111, cultural discrimination also prevailed, making East Pakistan forge a distinct political identity. 112, Pakistan banned Bengali literature and music in state media, including the works of Nobel laureate Rabindranath Tagore. 113, a cyclone devastated the coast of East Pakistan in 1970, killing an estimated 500,000 people. 114, and the central government was criticized for its poor response. 115, after the December 1970 elections. Calls for the independence of East Bengal became louder. The Bengali nationalist Awami League won 167 of 169 East Pakistani seats in the National Assembly. The League claimed the right to form a government and develop a new constitution, but was strongly opposed by the Pakistani military and the Pakistan People's Party, led by Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. War of Independence main article, Bangladesh Liberation War Human Remains and War Materiel from 1971 Bangladesh Genocide in Liberation War Museum. Dhaka Martyred Intellectuals Memorial near Raya Bazaar killing field is built in memory of the martyred intellectuals of Liberation War. The Bengali population was angered when Prime Minister-elect Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was prevented from taking the office. 116. Civil disobedience erupted across East Pakistan. With calls for independence. 117. Mujib addressed a pro-independence rally of nearly 2 million people in Dhaka, as Dhaka used to be spelled in English, on 7 March 1971, where he said, "This time the struggle is for our freedom. This time the struggle is for our independence." The flag of Bangladesh was raised for the first time on 23 March, Pakistan's Republic Day. 118. Later. On 25 March late evening, the Pakistani military junta led by Yahya Khan launched a sustained military assault on East Pakistan under the code name of Operation Searchlight. Army arrested Sheikh Mujibur Rahman and flew him away to Karachi. 121, 122, 123. However, before his arrest, Mujib proclaimed the independence of Bangladesh at midnight on 26 March, which led the Bangladesh Liberation War to break out within hours. The Pakistan Army continued to massacre Bengali students, intellectuals, politicians, civil servants and military defectors in the 1971 Bangladesh genocide. While the Mukti Bahini and other Bengali guerrilla forces created strong resistance throughout the country. 124. During the war, an estimated 0.3 to 3 million people were killed and several million people took shelter in neighboring India. 125. Global public opinion turned against Pakistan as news of the atrocities spread. 126. The Bangladesh movement was supported by prominent political and cultural figures in the West, including Ted Kennedy, George Harrison, Bob Dylan, Joan Baez, Victoria Ocampo and André Malraux. 127, 128, 129. The Concert for Bangladesh was held at Madison Square Garden in New York City to raise funds for Bangladeshi refugees. The first major benefit concert in history, it was organized by Harrison and Indian Bengali sitarist Ravi Shankar. During the Bangladesh Liberation War, Bengali nationalists declared independence and formed the Mukti Bahini, the Bangladeshi National Liberation Army. The Provisional Government of Bangladesh was established on 17 April 1971. Converting the 469 elected members of the Pakistani National Assembly and East Pakistani Provincial Assembly into the Constituent Assembly of Bangladesh. The Provisional Government issued a proclamation that became the country's interim constitution and declared equality, human dignity, and social justice as its fundamental principles. Due to Mujib's detention, Syed Nazrul Islam took over the role of acting president, while Tajuddin Ahmed was named Bangladesh's first prime minister. The Mukti Bahini and other Bengali guerrilla forces formed the Bangladesh Forces, which became the military wing of the provisional government. Led by General Mag. Osmani and 11 sector commanders, the forces held the countryside during the war and conducted wide-ranging guerrilla operations against Pakistani forces. As a result, almost the entire country except the capital Dhaka was liberated by Bangladesh forces by late November. This led the Pakistan Army to attack neighbouring India's Western Front on 2 December 1971. India retaliated in both the Western and Eastern fronts. With a joint ground advance by Bangladeshi and Indian forces, coupled with airstrikes by both India and the small Bangladeshi air contingent, the capital Dhaka was liberated from Pakistani occupation in mid-December. During the last phase of the war, both the Soviet Union and the United States dispatched naval forces to the Bay of Bengal in a Cold War standoff. The 9-month-long war ended with the surrender of Pakistani armed forces to the Bangladesh-India Allied Forces on 16 December 1971, 132, under international pressure. Pakistan released Rahman from imprisonment on 8 January 1972 and he was flown by the British Royal Air Force to a million-strong homecoming in Dhaka. 134 remaining Indian troops were withdrawn. By 12 March 1972, 3 months after the war ended, 135, the cause of Bangladeshi self-determination was recognized around the world. By August 1972, the new state was recognized by 86 countries. 126, Pakistan recognized Bangladesh in 1974 after pressure from most of the Muslim countries. This led the Pakistan Army to attack neighbouring India's Western Front on 2 December 1971. India retaliated in both People's Republic of Bangladesh first parliamentary-era Prime Minister Sheikh Mujibur Rahman and U.S. President Gerald Ford. In 1974 the Constituent Assembly adopted the Constitution of Bangladesh on 4 November 1972, establishing a secular, multi-party parliamentary democracy. The new constitution included references to socialism. And Prime Minister Sheikh Mujibur Rahman nationalized major industries in 1972. 137, a major reconstruction and rehabilitation program was launched. The Awami League won the country's first general election in 1973, securing a large majority in the Jatiyo Sangshad, the national parliament. Bangladesh joined the Commonwealth of Nations, the UN, the OIC and the Non-Aligned Movement, and Rahman strengthened ties with India. Amid growing agitation by the opposition National Awami Party and Jashod, he became increasingly authoritarian. Rahman amended the constitution, giving himself more emergency powers, including the suspension of fundamental rights. The Bangladesh famine of 1974 also worsened the political situation. Presidential era, 1975 to 1991. See also Military coups in Bangladesh. Zia Rahman H.M. Ershad. Zia and Ershad were the country's strongmen between 1975 to 1981 and 1982 to 1990 respectively. In January 1975, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman introduced one-party socialist rule under BAKSAL. Rahman banned all newspapers except 4 state-owned publications, and amended the constitution to increase his power. He was assassinated during a coup on 15 August 1975. Martial law was declared, and the presidency passed to the usurper Kondekar Mostaq Ahmed for 4 months. Ahmed is widely regarded as a traitor by Bangladeshis. 139, Tajuddin Ahmed, the nation's first prime minister, and 4 other independence leaders were assassinated on 4 November 1975. Chief Justice Abu Sadat Muhammad Siam was installed as president by the military on 6 November 1975. Bangladesh was governed by a military junta led by the Chief Martial Law Administrator for 3 years. In 1977, the army chief Zia Rahman became president. Rahman reinstated multi-party politics, privatized industries and newspapers, established BEPZA and held the country's second general election in 1979. A semi-presidential system evolved, with the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, BNP, governing until 1982. Rahman was assassinated in 1981, and was succeeded by Vice President Abdus Sattar. Sattar received 65.5% of the vote in the 1981 presidential election. After a year in office, Sattar was overthrown in the 1982 Bangladesh coup d'état. Chief Justice A.F.M. Ahsanuddin Chowdhury was installed as president. But Army Chief Hussain Muhammad Ershad became the country's de facto leader and assumed the presidency in 1983. Ershad lifted martial law in 1986. He governed with 4 successive prime ministers, Atur Rahman Khan, Mizanur Rahman Chowdhury, Maudud Ahmed and Qazi Zafar Ahmed, and a parliament dominated by his Jutio party. General elections were held in 1986 and 1988, although the latter was boycotted by the opposition BNP and Awami League. Ershad pursued administrative decentralization, dividing the country into 64 districts, and pushed parliament to make Islam the state religion in 1988. 141, a 1990 mass uprising forced him to resign. And Chief Justice Shahabuddin Ahmed led the country's first caretaker government as part of the transition to parliamentary rule. Parliamentary era, 1991–present. See also 2006 to 2008 Bangladeshi political crisis. Sheikh Hasina Khaleda Zia. The rivalry between Hasina and Zia has been dubbed the Battle of the Begums. 142, 143 Rohingya refugees entering Bangladesh from Myanmar after the 1991 general election. The 12th Amendment to the Constitution restored the parliamentary republic and Begum Khaleda Zia became Bangladesh's first female prime minister. Zia, a former First Lady, led a BNP government from 1990 to 1996. In 1991 her finance minister, Saifur Rahman, began a major program to liberalize the Bangladeshi economy. 138, in February 1996. A general election was held which was boycotted by all opposition parties, giving a 300 of 300 seat victory for BNP. This election was deemed illegitimate. So a system of a caretaker government was introduced to oversee the transfer of power and a new election was held in June 1996, overseen by Justice Muhammad Habibur Rahman. The first chief advisor of Bangladesh. The Awami League won the 7th general election, marking its leader Sheikh Hasina's first term as Prime Minister. Hasina's first term was highlighted by the Chittagong Hill Tracts Peace Accord and a Ganges water-sharing treaty with India. The second caretaker government, led by Chief Advisor Justice Latifur Rahman, oversaw the 2001 Bangladeshi general election which returned Begum Zia and the BNP to power. The second Zia administration saw improved economic growth, but political turmoil gripped the country between 2004 and 2006. A radical Islamist militant group, the JMB, carried out a series of terror attacks. The evidence of staging these attacks by these extremist groups have been found in the investigation. And hundreds of suspected members were detained in numerous security operations in 2006, including the two chiefs of the JMB, Sheikh Abdur Rahman and Bangla Bai, who were executed with other top leaders in March 2007, bringing the militant group to an end. Citing the lack of caretaker government, the 2014 general election was boycotted by the BNP and other opposition parties, giving the Awami League a decisive victory. The election was controversial with reports of violence and an alleged crackdown on the opposition in the run-up to the election, and 153 seats, of 300, went uncontested in the election. Despite the controversy, Hasina went on to form a government that saw her return for a third term as Prime Minister. Due to strong domestic demand, Bangladesh emerged as one of the fastest-growing economies in the world. 147. However, human rights abuses increased under the Hasina administration, particularly enforced disappearances. Between 2016 and 2017, an estimated 1 million Rohingya refugees took shelter in southeastern Bangladesh amid a military crackdown in neighboring Rakhine State, Myanmar. In 2018, the country saw major movements for government quota reforms and road safety. The 2018 Bangladeshi general election was marred by allegations of widespread vote rigging. 148. The Awami League won 259 out of 300 seats, and the main opposition alliance Jatiya Oikya Front secured only 8 seats, with Sheikh Hasina becoming the longest-serving prime minister in Bangladeshi history. 149. Pro-democracy leader drive. Kamal Hussein called for an annulment of the election result and for a new election to be held in a free and fair manner. 150. The election was also observed by European Union observers. 151. Geography. Bangladesh is a small, lush country in South Asia, located on the Bay of Bengal. It is surrounded almost entirely by neighboring India, and shares a small border with Myanmar to its southeast. It lies very close to Nepal, Bhutan, and China. The country is divided between 3 regions. Most of the country is dominated by the fertile Ganges Delta, the largest river delta in the world. 152. The northwest and central parts of the country are formed by the Madhupur and the Barind plateaus. The northeast and southeast are home to evergreen hill ranges. The Ganges Delta is formed by the confluence of the Ganges, local name Padma or Poda, Brahmaputra, Jamuna or Jomuna, and Administrative Geography. Main article, Administrative geography of Bangladesh. Further information. Divisions of Bangladesh, districts of Bangladesh, and Upper-Zilas of Bangladesh. Bangladesh is divided into 8 administrative divisions, 158, 157, 159, each named after their respective divisional headquarters. Barisal, officially Barishal, 160. Chittagong, officially Chattogram, 160, Dhaka, Khulna, Mymensingh, Rajshahi, Rangpur, and Sylhet. Divisions are subdivided into districts, Zilla. There are 64 districts in Bangladesh, each further subdivided into upazila, subdistricts, or thana. The area within each police station, except for those in metropolitan areas, is divided into several unions, with each union consisting of multiple villages. In the metropolitan areas, police stations are divided into wards, which are further divided into mahallas. There are no elected officials at the divisional or district levels, and the administration is composed only of government officials. Direct elections are held in each union, or ward, for a chairperson and a number of members. In 1997, a parliamentary act was passed to reserve 3 seats, out of 12, in every union for female candidates. Climate. Main articles: Geography of Bangladesh section Climate, and Climate Change in Bangladesh. Köppen Geiger Climate Classification Map for Bangladesh, 163, flooding after the 1991 Bangladesh cyclone, which killed around 140,000 people. Straddling the Tropic of Cancer, Bangladesh's climate is tropical with a mild winter from October to March, and a hot, humid summer from March to June. The country has never recorded an air temperature below 0 degrees Celsius, 32 degrees Fahrenheit. With a record low of 1.1 degrees Celsius, 34.0 degrees Fahrenheit, in the northwest city of Dinajpur on 3 February 1905, 164, a warm and humid monsoon season lasts from June to October and supplies most of the country's rainfall. Natural calamities, such as floods, tropical cyclones, tornadoes, and tidal bores occur almost every year. 165, combined with the effects of deforestation, soil degradation and erosion. The cyclones of 1970 and 1991 were particularly devastating, the latter killing some 140,000 people. In September 1998, Bangladesh saw the most severe flooding in modern world history. As the Brahmaputra, the Ganges and Meghna spilt over and swallowed 300,000 houses. 9,700 kilometers, 6,000 miles, of road and 2,700 kilometers, 1,700 miles, of embankment. 1,000 people were killed and 30 million more were made homeless. 135,000 cattle were killed. 50 square kilometers, 19 square miles, of land were destroyed, and 11,000 kilometers, 6,800 miles, of roads were damaged or destroyed. Effectively, 2/3 of the country was underwater. The severity of the flooding was attributed to unusually high monsoon rains, the shedding of equally unusually large amounts of meltwater from the Himalayas, and the widespread cutting down of trees that would have intercepted rainwater for firewood or animal husbandry. 167, as a result of various international and national level initiatives in disaster risk reduction. Human toll and economic damage from floods and cyclones have come down over the years. 168, a similar country-wide flood in 2007, which left 5 million people displaced, had a death toll around 500. Bangladesh is recognized to be one of the countries most vulnerable to climate change. 171. Over the course of a century, 508 cyclones have affected the Bay of Bengal region. 17% of which are believed to have caused landfall in Bangladesh. 172. Natural hazards that come from increased rainfall, rising sea levels, and tropical cyclones are expected to increase as the climate changes, each seriously affecting agriculture, water and food security, human health, and shelter. 173. It is estimated that by 2050, a 3 feet rise in sea levels will inundate some 20% of the land and displace more than 30 million people. 174. To address the sea level rise threat in Bangladesh, the Bangladesh Delta Plan 2100 has been launched. Biodiversity main articles. Wildlife of Bangladesh and fauna of Bangladesh. A Bengal tiger, the national animal. In the Sundarbans, Bangladesh ratified the Rio Convention on Biological Diversity on 3 May 1994. 177, as of 2014. The country was set to revise its National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan. 177. Bangladesh is located in the Indomalayan realm, and lies within 4 terrestrial ecoregions. Lower Gangetic Plains moist deciduous forests, Mizoram Manipur Kachin rainforests, Sundarbans freshwater swamp forests, and Sundarbans mangroves. 178. Its ecology includes a long sea coastline, numerous rivers and tributaries, lakes, wetlands, evergreen forests, semi-evergreen forests, hill forests, moist deciduous forests, freshwater swamp forests and flat land with tall grass. The Bangladesh plain is famous for its fertile alluvial soil which supports extensive cultivation. The country is dominated by lush vegetation, with villages often buried in groves of mango, jackfruit, bamboo, betel nut, coconut and date palm. 179. The country has up to 6,000 species of plant life, including 5,000 flowering plants. 180. Water bodies and wetland systems provide a habitat for many aquatic plants. Water lilies and lotuses grow vividly during the monsoon season. The country has 50 wildlife sanctuaries. Bangladesh is home to much of the Sundarbans, the world's largest mangrove forest, covering an area of 6,000 square kilometers in the southwest littoral region. It is divided into 3 protected sanctuaries: the south, east and west zones. The forest is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The northeastern Sylhet region is home to Haror wetlands, which is a unique ecosystem. It also includes tropical and subtropical coniferous forests, a freshwater swamp forest, and mixed deciduous forests. The southeastern Chittagong region covers evergreen and semi-evergreen hilly jungles. Central Bangladesh includes the plainland sal forest running along the districts of Ghazipur, Tangail and Mymensingh. St. Martin's Island is the only coral reef in the country. Bangladesh has an abundance of wildlife in its forests, marshes, woodlands and hills. 179. The vast majority of animals dwell within a habitat of 150,000 square kilometers. 181. The Bengal tiger, clouded leopard, saltwater crocodile, black panther and fishing cat are among the chief predators in the Sundarbans. 182. Northern and eastern Bangladesh is home to the Asian elephant, hoolock gibbon, Asian black bear and oriental pied hornbill. The cheetal deer are widely seen in southwestern woodlands. Other animals include the black giant squirrel, capped langur, Bengal fox, sambar deer, jungle cat, king cobra, wild boar, mongooses, pangolins, pythons and water monitors. Bangladesh has one of the largest populations of Irrawaddy dolphins and Ganges dolphins. A 2009 census found 6,000 Irrawaddy dolphins inhabiting the littoral rivers of Bangladesh. 184. The country has numerous species of amphibians, 53, reptiles, 139, marine reptiles, 19, and marine mammals, 5. It also has 628 species of birds, 185. Several animals became extinct in Bangladesh during the last century, including the one-horned and two-horned rhinoceros and common peafowl. The human population is concentrated in urban areas, hence limiting deforestation to a certain extent. Rapid urban growth has threatened natural habitats. Although many areas are protected under law, a large portion of Bangladeshi wildlife is threatened by this growth. Furthermore, access to biocapacity in Bangladesh is low. In 2016, Bangladesh had 0.4 global hectares, 186, of biocapacity per person within its territory, or about one-fourth of the world average. In contrast, in 2016, they used 0.84 global hectares of biocapacity, their ecological footprint of consumption. As a result, Bangladesh is running a biocapacity deficit. 186. The Bangladesh Environment Conservation Act was enacted in 1995. The government has designated several regions as ecologically critical areas, including wetlands, forests, and rivers. The Sundarbans Tiger Project and the Bangladesh Bear Project are among the key initiatives to strengthen conservation. 183. Politics and government. Bangladesh is a de jure representative democracy under its constitution, with a Westminster-style unitary parliamentary republic that has universal suffrage. The head of government is the Prime Minister, who is invited to form a government every 5 years by the President. The President invites the leader of the largest party in Parliament to become Prime Minister of the world's fifth-largest democracy. 187. Bangladesh experienced a two-party system between 1990 and 2014. When the Awami League and the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, BNP, civil society since the colonial period. There are various special interest groups, including non-governmental organizations, human rights organizations, professional associations, chambers of commerce, employers' associations and trade unions. One of the key aspects of Bangladeshi politics is the spirit of the Liberation War, which refers to the ideals of the liberation movement during the Bangladesh Liberation War. 189. The Proclamation of Independence enunciated the values of equality, human dignity and social justice. In 1972, the Constitution included a Bill of Rights and declared nationalism, socialism, democracy and secularity as the principles of government policy. Socialism was later de-emphasized and neglected by successive governments. Bangladesh has a market-based economy. To many Bangladeshis, especially in the younger generation, the spirit of the Liberation War is a vision for a society based on civil liberties, human rights, the rule of law and good governance. Executive branch. The government of Bangladesh is overseen by a cabinet headed by the Prime Minister of Bangladesh. The tenure of a parliamentary government is 5 years. The Bangladesh Civil Service assists the cabinet in running the government. Recruitment for the civil service is based on a public examination. In theory, the civil service should be a meritocracy. But a disputed quota system coupled with politicization and preference for seniority have allegedly affected the civil service's meritocracy. 191. The President of Bangladesh is the ceremonial head of state. 192. Whose powers include signing bills passed by Parliament into law. The President is elected by the Parliament and has a 5-year term. Under the Constitution, the President acts on the advice of the Prime Minister. The President is the Supreme Commander of the Bangladesh Armed Forces and the Chancellor of all universities. Legislative branch. The National Assembly of Bangladesh, the Jatiya Sangshad, National Assembly, is the unicameral parliament. It has 350 members of parliament, MPs. Including 300 MPs elected on the first-past-the-post system and 50 MPs appointed to reserved seats for women's empowerment. Article 70 of the Constitution of Bangladesh forbids MPs from voting against their party. However, several laws proposed independently by MPs have been transformed into legislation, including the Anti-Torture Law. 193. The Parliament is presided over by the Speaker of the Jatiya Sangshad, who is second in line to the President as per the Constitution. There is also a Deputy Speaker. When a President is incapable of performing duties, i.e. due to illness, the Speaker steps in as acting President and the Deputy Speaker becomes acting Speaker. A recurring proposal suggests that the Deputy Speaker should be a member of the opposition. Legal system. Main article. Laws in Bangladesh. Supreme Court of Bangladesh. The Supreme Court of Bangladesh is the highest court of the land, followed by the High Court and Appellate divisions. The head of the judiciary is the Chief Justice of Bangladesh, who sits on the Supreme Court. The courts have wide latitude in judicial review and judicial precedent is supported by Article 111 of the Constitution. The judiciary includes district and metropolitan courts, which are divided into civil and criminal courts. Due to a shortage of judges, the judiciary has a large backlog. The Bangladesh Judicial Service Commission is an independent body responsible for judicial appointments, salaries, and discipline. Bangladesh's legal system is based on common law and its principal source of laws are Acts of Parliament. 195. The Bangladesh Code includes a list of all laws in force in the country. The code begins in 1836 and most of its listed laws were crafted under the British Raj by the Bengal Legislative Council, the Bengal Legislative Assembly, the Eastern Bengal and Assam Legislative Council, the Imperial Legislative Council and the Parliament of the United Kingdom. One example is the 1860 Penal Code. From 1947 to 1971, laws were enacted by Pakistan's National Assembly and the East Pakistani Legislature. The Constituent Assembly of Bangladesh was the country's provisional parliament until 1973. When the first elected Jatiya Sangshad, National Parliament, was sworn in. Although most of Bangladesh's laws were compiled in English. After a 1987 government directive, laws are now primarily written in Bengali. While most of Bangladeshi law is secular, marriage, divorce, and inheritance are governed by Islamic, Hindu and Christian family law. The judiciary is often influenced by legal developments in the Commonwealth of Nations, such as the doctrine of legitimate expectation. Military. The Bangladesh Armed Forces have inherited the institutional framework of the British military and the British Indian Army. 196, it was formed in 1971 from the military regiments of East Pakistan. In 2018, the active personnel strength of the Bangladesh Army was around 157,500, 197, excluding the Air Force and the Navy, 24,198, in addition to traditional defense roles. The military has supported civil authorities in disaster relief and provided internal security during periods of political unrest. For many years, Bangladesh has been the world's largest contributor to UN peacekeeping forces. In February 2015, the country made major deployments to Côte d'Ivoire, Cyprus, Darfur, the Democratic Republic of Congo, the Golan Heights, Haiti, Lebanon, Liberia and South Sudan. The Bangladesh Navy has the third largest fleet of countries dependent on the Bay of Bengal, including guided missile frigates, submarines, cutters and aircraft. The Bangladesh Air Force is equipped with several Russian multi-role fighter jets. Bangladesh cooperates defensively with the United States Armed Forces, participating in the Cooperation Afloat Readiness and Training (CARAT) exercises. Ties between the Bangladeshi and the Indian military exist with high-level visits by the military chiefs of both countries. 200, 201. Most of Bangladesh's military equipment comes from China. 202. In 2019, Bangladesh ratified the UN Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. 203. Foreign Relations Main Article, Foreign Relations of Bangladesh. The first major intergovernmental organization joined by Bangladesh was the Commonwealth of Nations in 1972. The country joined the United Nations in 1974, and has been elected twice to the UN Security Council. Ambassador Humayun Rashid Chowdhury was elected President of the UN General Assembly in 1986. Bangladesh relies on multilateral diplomacy in the World Trade Organization. It is a major contributor to UN peacekeeping, providing 113,000 personnel to 54 UN missions in the Middle East, the Balkans, Africa and the Caribbean in 2014. 204. In addition to membership in the Commonwealth of Nations and the United Nations, Bangladesh pioneered regional cooperation in South Asia. Bangladesh is a founding member of the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, SAARC, an organization designed to strengthen relations and promote economic and cultural growth among its members. It has hosted several summits and 2 Bangladeshi diplomats were the organization's Secretary General. Bangladesh joined the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC, in 1973. It has hosted the Summit of OIC Foreign Ministers, which addresses issues, conflicts and disputes affecting Muslim-majority countries. Bangladesh is a founding member of the Developing 8 Countries, which is a bloc of 8 Muslim-majority republics. The neighboring country of Myanmar, Burma, was one of the first countries to recognize Bangladesh. 205, despite common regional interests. Bangladesh-Myanmar relations have been strained by the Rohingya refugee crisis and the isolationist policies of the Myanmar military. In 2012, Both countries came to terms at the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea over maritime boundaries in the Bay of Bengal, 206, in 2016 and 2017. Relations with Myanmar were strained once again as over 700,000 Rohingya refugees illegally entered Bangladesh fleeing persecution, ethnic cleansing, genocide, and other atrocities in Myanmar. The parliament, government, and civil society of Bangladesh have been at the forefront of international criticism against Myanmar for military operations against the Rohingya, which the United Nations has described as ethnic cleansing. Bangladesh's most politically important bilateral relationship is with neighboring India. In 2015, major Indian newspapers called Bangladesh a trusted friend. 209. Bangladesh and India are South Asia's largest trading partners. The countries are collaborating in regional economic and infrastructure projects, such as a regional motor vehicle agreement in eastern South Asia and a coastal shipping agreement in the Bay of Bengal. Indo-Bangladesh relations often emphasize a shared cultural heritage, democratic values and a history of support for Bangladeshi independence. Despite political goodwill, border killings of Bangladeshi civilians and the lack of a comprehensive water-sharing agreement for 54 transboundary rivers are major issues. In 2017, India joined Russia and China in refusing to condemn Myanmar's atrocities against the Rohingya, which contradicted with Bangladesh's demand for recognizing Rohingya human rights. 210. However, the Indian Air Force delivered aid shipments for Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh. 211. The crackdown against cattle smuggling in India has also affected Bangladesh. The Bangladeshi beef and leather industries have seen increased prices due to the Indian BJP government's campaign against the export of beef and cattle skin. Pakistan and Bangladesh have a $550 million United States dollars trade relationship. 213, particularly in Pakistani cotton imports for the Bangladeshi textile industry. Although Bangladeshi and Pakistani businesses have invested in each other, diplomatic relations are strained because of Pakistani denial of the 1971 Bangladesh genocide. The execution of a Jamaat-e-Islami leader in 2013 on committing of war crimes during the Liberation War was opposed in Pakistan and led to further strained ties. 214. Sino-Bangladesh relations date to the 1950s and are relatively warm. Despite the Chinese leadership siding with Pakistan during Bangladesh's War of Independence, China and Bangladesh established bilateral relations in 1976 which have significantly strengthened, and the country is considered a cost-effective source of arms for the Bangladeshi military. 215. Since the 1980s, 80% of Bangladesh's military equipment has been supplied by China, often with generous credit terms. And China is Bangladesh's largest trading partner. Both countries are part of the BCIM Forum. Japan is Bangladesh's largest economic aid provider in the form of loans, and the countries have common political goals. 216, 217. The United Kingdom has long-standing economic, cultural and military links with Bangladesh. The United States is a major economic and security partner, its largest export market and foreign investor. 76% of Bangladeshis viewed the United States favorably in 2014. One of the highest ratings among Asian countries. 218, 219. The United States views Bangladesh as a key partner in the Indo-Pacific. 220. The European Union is Bangladesh's largest regional market. conducting public diplomacy and providing development assistance. Relations with other countries are generally positive. Shared democratic values ease relations with Western countries, and similar economic concerns forge ties to other developing countries. Despite poor working conditions and war affecting overseas Bangladeshi workers, relations with Middle Eastern countries are friendly and bounded by religion and culture. More than 1 million Bangladeshis are employed in the region. In 2016, the King of Saudi Arabia called Bangladesh one of the most important Muslim countries, 221. However, Bangladesh has not established diplomatic relationship with Israel, 222, in support of a sovereign Palestinian state and an end to Israel's illegal occupation of Palestine. Bangladeshi aid agencies work in many developing countries. An example is BRAC in Afghanistan, which benefits 12 million people in that country. 224. Bangladesh has a record of nuclear non-proliferation as a party to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty (NPT) and the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty (CTBT). 225. And is also a member of Non-Aligned Movement since 1973. It is a state party to the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court. Bangladeshi foreign policy is influenced by the principle of friendship to all and malice to none. First articulated by Bengali statesman H.S. Sohrawardy in 1957. 216, 226. Sohrawardy led East and West Pakistan to join the Southeast Asia Treaty Organization, CENTO, and the Regional Cooperation for Development. Human Rights Main Article. Human Rights in Bangladesh 2013 Shahbag protests demanding the death penalty for the war criminals of the 1971 war. A list of fundamental rights is enshrined in the country's constitution. The drafter of the constitution in 1972, Dr. Kamal Hussain, was influenced by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. 227. Bangladesh also recognizes the third gender. 228. However, homosexuality is outlawed by Section 377 of the Criminal Code, a legacy of the colonial period, and is punishable by a maximum of life imprisonment. 229. 230. Judicial activism has often upheld human rights. In the 1970s, judges invalidated detentions under the Special Powers Act. 1974 through cases such as Aruna Sen v. Government of Bangladesh and Abdul Latif Mirza v. Government of Bangladesh. In 2008, the Supreme Court paved the way for citizenship for the stranded Pakistanis, who were an estimated 300,000 stateless people. 231. Despite being a non-signatory of the UN Refugee Convention, Bangladesh has taken in Rohingya refugees since 1978, and the country is now home to 1 million refugees. Bangladesh is an active member of the International Labour Organization, ILO, since 1972. It has ratified 33 ILO conventions, including the 7 fundamental ILO conventions. 232. Bangladesh has ratified the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights. 233. 234. In 2018, Bangladesh came under heavy criticism for its repressive Digital Security Act, which threatened freedom of speech. The photojournalist Shahidul Alam was jailed and tortured for criticizing the government. 235. Alam was featured in the 2018 Time Person of the Year issue. The National Human Rights Commission of Bangladesh was set up in 2007. Notable human rights organizations and initiatives include the Center for Law and Mediation, ODICAR, the Alliance for Bangladesh Worker Safety, the Bangladesh Environmental Lawyers Association, the Bangladesh Hindu-Buddhist Christian Unity Council and the War Crimes Fact-Finding Committee. Bangladeshi security forces, particularly the Rapid Action Battalion, RAB, have received international condemnation for human rights abuses, including enforced disappearances, torture and extrajudicial killings. Over 1,000 people have been said to have been victims of extrajudicial killings by RAB since its inception under the last Bangladesh Nationalist Party government. 242. The RAB has been called a death squad by Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International. 243, 244, which have called for the force to be disbanded. 243, 244, the British and American governments have been criticized for funding and engaging the force in counter-terrorism operations. Secularism is protected by the Constitution of Bangladesh and religious parties are barred from contesting elections. However, the government is accused of courting religious extremist groups. Islam's ambiguous position as the de facto state religion has been criticized by the United Nations. 248. Despite relative harmony, religious minorities have faced occasional persecution. The Hindu and Buddhist communities have experienced religious violence from Islamic groups, notably the Bangladesh Jamaat-e-Islami and its student wing, Shabir. However, Islamic groups are losing popular support. Islamic far-right candidates peaked at 12% of the vote in 2001, falling to 4% in 2008. Like for many developing countries, institutional corruption is a serious concern for Bangladesh. Bangladesh was ranked 146th among 180 countries on Transparency International's 2018 Corruption Perceptions Index. 254, according to survey conducted by the Bangladesh chapter of TI. In 2015, bribes made up 3.7% of the national budget. 255. Land administration was the sector with the most bribery in 2015, 255, followed by education, 256, police, 257, and water supply, 258. The Anti-Corruption Commission was formed in 2004. And it was active during the 2006–08 Bangladeshi political crisis, indicting many leading politicians, bureaucrats and businessmen for graft. 259, 260, 261, Economy. Main articles: Economy of Bangladesh and List of companies of Bangladesh. Dhaka, the commercial and financial hub of the country. However, an insufficient power supply is a significant obstacle to Bangladesh's economic development. According to the World Bank, poor governance, corruption and weak public institutions are also major challenges. 268. In April 2010, Standard & Poor's gave Bangladesh a BB long-term credit rating, below India's but above those of Pakistan and Sri Lanka. Bangladesh is the seventh largest natural gas producer in Asia, ahead of neighboring Myanmar, and 56% of the country's electricity is generated by natural gas. Major gas fields are located in the northeastern, particularly Sylhet, and southern, including Barisal and Chittagong, regions. Petrobangla is the national energy company. The American multinational corporation Chevron produces 50% of Bangladesh's natural gas. 270. According to geologists, the Bay of Bengal contains large, untapped gas reserves in Bangladesh's exclusive economic zone. 271. Bangladesh has substantial coal reserves, with several coal mines operating in the northwest. Jute exports remain significant. Although the global jute trade has shrunk considerably since its World War II peak, Bangladesh has one of the world's oldest tea industries, and is a major exporter of fish and seafood. Bangladesh's textile and ready-made garment industries are the country's largest manufacturing sector, with 2017 exports of $34.1 billion. 266. Leather goods manufacturing, particularly footwear, is the second largest export sector. The pharmaceutical industry meets 97% of domestic demand, and exports to many countries. 272. 273. Shipbuilding has grown rapidly, with exports to Europe. Steel is concentrated in the port city of Chittagong, and the ceramics industry is prominent in international trade. In 2005, Bangladesh was the world's 20th largest cement producer. An industry dependent on limestone imports from northeast India. Food processing is a major sector, with local brands such as Pran increasing their international presence. The electronics industry is growing rapidly with contributions from companies like the Walton Group. 275. Bangladesh's defense industry includes the Bangladesh Ordnance Factories and the Khulna shipyard. The service sector accounts for 51% of the country's GDP. Bangladesh ranks with Pakistan as South Asia's second-largest banking sector. 276. The Dhaka and Chittagong stock exchanges are the country's twin financial markets. Bangladesh's telecommunications industry is one of the world's fastest-growing, with 114 million cell phone subscribers in December 2013, 277, and Grameen Phone, Banglalink. Robi and BTTB are major companies. Tourism is developing, with the beach resort of Cox's Bazar at the center of the industry. The Sylhet region, home to Bangladesh's tea gardens, also hosts a large number of visitors. The country has 3 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, the Mosque City, the Buddhist Vihara and the Sundarbans, and 5 tentative list sites. Following the pioneering work of Akhtar Hamid Khan on rural development at Bangladesh Academy for Rural Development, several NGOs in Bangladesh including BRAC, the world's largest NGO, 279, and Grameen Bank, focused on rural development and poverty alleviation in the country. Muhammad Yunus successfully pioneered microfinance as a sustainable tool for poverty alleviation and others followed suit. As of 2015, The country had over 35 million microcredit borrowers, 280, in recognition of their tangible contribution to poverty alleviation. Muhammad Yunus and Grameen Bank were jointly awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2006. Agriculture. This section is an excerpt from Agriculture in Bangladesh. Edit. Agriculture is the largest employment sector in Bangladesh, making up 14.2% of Bangladesh's GDP in 2017 and employing about 42.7% of the workforce. 282. The performance of this sector has an overwhelming impact on major macroeconomic objectives, like employment generation, poverty alleviation, human resources development, food security, and other economic and social forces. A plurality of Bangladeshis earn their living from agriculture, due to a number of factors. Bangladesh's labor-intensive agriculture has achieved steady increases in food grain production despite the often unfavorable weather conditions. 283. These include better flood control and irrigation, a generally more efficient use of fertilizers, as well as the establishment of better distribution and rural credit networks. Although rice and jute are the primary crops, maize and vegetables are assuming greater importance. 284, due to the expansion of irrigation networks. Some wheat producers have switched to cultivation of maize, which is used mostly as poultry feed. 284. Tea is grown in the northeast. 284. Because of Bangladesh's fertile soil and normally ample water supply. Rice can be grown and harvested 3 times a year in many areas. 284. The country is among the top producers of rice, 4th, potatoes, 7th, tropical fruits, 6th, jute, 2nd, and farmed fish, 5th. 285, 286, with 35.8 million metric tons produced in 2000, rice is Bangladesh's principal crop. In comparison to rice, wheat output in 1999 was 1.9 million tons, 1,900,000 long tons, 2,100,000 short tons. Transport. Transport is a major sector of the economy. Aviation has grown rapidly, and is dominated by the flag carrier Biman Bangladesh Airlines and other privately owned airlines. Bangladesh has a number of airports including 3 international and several domestic STOL, short takeoff and landing, airports. The busiest, Shah Jalal International Airport, connects Dhaka with major destinations. Bangladesh has a 2,706 km, 1,681 mile, long rail network operated by the state-owned Bangladesh Railway. The total length of the country's road and highway network is nearly 21,000 km, 13,000 miles. With 8,046 km, 5,000 miles, of navigable waters, Bangladesh has one of the largest inland waterway networks in the world. 287. The southeastern port of Chittagong is its busiest seaport. Energy handling over $60 billion in annual trade, more than 80% of the country's export-import commerce. 288. The second busiest seaport is Mongla. Bangladesh has 3 seaports and 22 river ports. Energy and infrastructure. Main articles: Energy in Bangladesh, natural gas and petroleum in Bangladesh, telecommunications in Bangladesh, and water supply and sanitation in Bangladesh. This section needs to be updated. Please update this article to reflect recent events or newly available information. December 2020, coal and natural gas fields in Bangladesh. 2011, Bangladesh had an installed electrical capacity of 20,000 megawatts in 2018. Reaching 23,548 megawatts in 2020, 291. About 56% of the country's commercial energy is generated by natural gas, followed by oil, hydropower and coal. Bangladesh has planned to import hydropower from Bhutan and Nepal. 292. A nuclear power plant is under construction with Russian support in the Raipur nuclear power plant project, which will add 2,160 MW when fully operational. 293. The country ranks 5th worldwide in the number of renewable energy green jobs. And solar panels are increasingly used to power urban and off-grid rural area. An estimated 98% of the country's population had access to improved water sources by 2004, 295, a high percentage for a low-income country. Achieved largely through the construction of hand pumps with support from external donors. However, in 1993 it was discovered that much of Bangladesh's groundwater, the source of drinking water for 97% of the rural population and a significant share of the urban population, is naturally contaminated with arsenic. Another challenge is low-cost recovery due to low tariffs and poor economic efficiency, especially in urban areas, where water revenue does not cover operating costs. An estimated 56% of the population had access to adequate sanitation facilities in 2010. 157. Community-led total sanitation, addressing the problem of open defecation in rural areas, is credited with improving public health since its introduction in 2000. Science and Technology main article, Science and Technology in Bangladesh. See also, Information Technology in Bangladesh and Biotechnology and Genetic Engineering in Bangladesh in 2018. The first payload of SpaceX's Falcon 9 Block 5 rocket was the Bangabandhu 1 satellite built by Thales Alenia Space. The Bangladesh Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, founded in 1973, traces its roots to the East Pakistan Regional Laboratories established in Dhaka, 1955, Rajshahi, 1965, and Chittagong, 1967. Bangladesh's Space Agency, SPARRSO, was founded in 1983 with assistance from the United States. 297. The country's first communications satellite, Bangabandhu 1, was launched from the United States in 2018. 298. The Bangladesh Atomic Energy Commission operates a TRIGA research reactor at its atomic energy facility in Savur. 299. In 2015, Bangladesh was ranked the 26th global IT outsourcing destination. 300. Tourism. Main article, Tourism in Bangladesh. The beach in Cox's Bazar, with an unbroken length of 120 kilometers, 75 miles, is often credited as the longest natural sea beach in the world. Mountain trekking is a popular activity in the Bandarban district. Bangladesh's tourist attractions include historical sites and monuments, resorts, beaches, picnic spots, forests and wildlife of various species. Activities for tourists include angling, water skiing, river cruising, hiking, rowing, yachting, and sea bathing. 301, 302. The World Travel and Tourism Council, WTTC, reported in 2019 that the travel and tourism industry in Bangladesh directly generated 1,180,500 jobs in 2018, or 1.9% of the country's total employment. 303, according to the same report. Bangladesh experiences around 125,000 international tourist arrivals per year. 303. Domestic spending generated 97.7% of direct travel and tourism gross domestic product (GDP) in 2012. 304. Bangladesh's world ranking in 2012 for travel and tourism's direct contribution to GDP, as a percentage of GDP, was 120 out of 140. Estimates of the Bangladeshi population vary, but UN data suggests 161,376,708, 162.9 million, in 2017. 9/10. The 2011 census estimated 142.3 million, 306, much less than 2007 to 2010 estimates of Bangladesh's population, 150 to 170 million. Bangladesh is the world's 8th most populous nation and the most densely populated large country in the world, ranking 7th in population density even when small countries and city-states are included. Urban centers. Further information. List of cities and towns in Bangladesh. Dhaka is Bangladesh's capital and largest city and is overseen by 2 city corporations who manage between them the northern and southern part of the city. There are 12 city corporations which hold mayoral elections: Dhaka South, Dhaka North, Chittagong, Kamilla, Khulna, Mymensingh, Sylhet, Rajshahi, Barisal, Rangpur, Ghazipur and Narayanganj. Mayors are elected for 5-year terms. Altogether there are 506 urban centers in Bangladesh, among which 43 cities have a population of more than 100,000, 315. Language. Main article. Languages of Bangladesh. The Charyapada scrolls are the oldest surviving text of the Bengali language. The photograph was taken at the Rajshahi College Library. The predominant language of Bangladesh is Bengali, also known as Bangla. Bengali is one of the easternmost branches of the Indo-European language family. It is a part of the Eastern Indo-Aryan languages in South Asia, which developed between the 10th and 13th centuries. Bengali is written using the Bengali script. In ancient Bengal, Sanskrit was the language of written communication, especially by priests. During the Islamic period, Sanskrit was replaced by Bengali as the vernacular language. The sultans of Bengal promoted the production of Bengali literature instead of Sanskrit. Bengali also received Persian and Arabic loanwords during the Sultanate of Bengal. Under British rule, Bengali was significantly modernized by Europeans. Modern Standard Bengali emerged as the lingua franca of the region. A heavily Sanskritized version of Bengali was employed by Hindu scholars during the Bengali Renaissance. Muslim writers such as Qazi Nazrul Islam gave attention to the Persian and Arabic vocabulary of the language. Today, the Bengali language standard is prescribed by the Bangla Academy in Bangladesh. More than 98% of people in Bangladesh speak Bengali as their native language. 316, 317. Bengali is described as a dialect continuum where there are various dialects spoken throughout the country. Currently there is a diglossia in which much of the population are able to understand or speak standard colloquial Bengali and in their regional dialect, such as Chittagonian or Sylheti, which some linguists consider as separate languages. 318, the Bengali Language Implementation Act 1987 made it mandatory to use Bengali in all government affairs in Bangladesh. 319. Although laws were historically written in English, they were not translated into Bengali until the Act. All subsequent acts, ordinances and laws have been promulgated in Bengali since 1987. 320. English is often used in the verdicts delivered by the Supreme Court of Bangladesh, and is also used in higher education. The Chakma language is another native Eastern Indo-Aryan language of Bangladesh. It is written using the Chakma script. The unique aspect of the language is that it is used by the Chakma people, who are a population with similarities to the people of East Asia, rather than the Indian subcontinent. The Chakma language is endangered due to its decreasing use in schools and institutions. Other tribal languages include Garo, Meitei, Kokborok and Rahine. Among the Austroasiatic languages, the Santali language is spoken by the Santali tribe. Many of these languages are written in the Bengali script, while there is also some usage of the Latin script. Urdu has a significant heritage in Bangladesh, in particular Old Dhaka. The language was introduced to Bengal in the 17th century. Traders and migrants from North India often spoke the language in Bengal, as did sections of the Bengali upper class. Urdu poets lived in many parts of Bangladesh. The use of Urdu became controversial during the Bengali language movement, when the people of East Bengal resisted attempts to impose Urdu as the main official language. In modern Bangladesh, the Urdu-speaking community is restricted to the country's Bahari community, formerly stranded Pakistanis, and some sections of the old Dakiya population. 321. Religion. The constitution grants freedom of religion and officially makes Bangladesh a secular state. While establishing Islam as the religion of the Republic 23, 323, 324, Islam is followed by 90% of the population. 325. Most Bangladeshis are Bengali Muslims, who form the largest Muslim ethno-religious group in South Asia and the second largest in the world after the Arabs. There is also a minority of non-Bengali Muslims. The vast majority of Bangladeshi Muslims are Sunni, followed by minorities of Shia and Ahmadiyya. About 4% are non-denominational Muslims. 326. Bangladesh has the fourth largest Muslim population in the world, and is the third largest Muslim-majority country, after Indonesia and Pakistan. 327. Sufism has an extensive heritage in the region. 328. Liberal Bengali Islam sometimes clashes with orthodox movements. The largest gathering of Muslims in Bangladesh is the apolitical Bishwa Ijtema, held annually by the Orthodox Tablighi Jamaat. The Ijtema is the second largest Muslim congregation in the world, after the Hajj. The Islamic Foundation is an autonomous government agency responsible for some religious matters under state guidance, including monitoring of sighting of the moon in accordance with the lunar Islamic calendar in order to set festival dates, as well as the charitable tradition of zakat. Public holidays include the Islamic observances of Eid al-Fitr, Eid al-Adha, the Prophet's birthday, Ashura and Shab-e Barat. Hinduism is followed by 8.5% of the population, 325. Most are Bengali Hindus, and some are members of ethnic minority groups. Bangladeshi Hindus are the country's second largest religious group and the third largest Hindu community in the world, after those in India and Nepal. Hindus in Bangladesh are evenly distributed, with concentrations in Gopalganj, Dinajpur, Sylhet, Sunamganj, Mymensingh, Khulna, Jessore, Chittagong and parts of the Chittagong Hill Tracts. The festivals of Durga's return and Krishna's birthday are public holidays. Buddhism is the third largest religion, at 0.6%. Bangladeshi Buddhists are concentrated among ethnic groups in the Chittagong Hill Tracts, particularly the Chakma, Mama and Tanchangya peoples, while coastal Chittagong is home to a large number of Bengali Buddhists. Although the Mahayana school of Buddhism was historically prevalent in the region, Bangladeshi Buddhists today adhere to the Theravada school. Buddha's birthday is a public holiday. The chief Buddhist priests are based at a monastery in Chittagong. Christianity is the fourth largest religion, at 0.4%, 329. Roman Catholicism is the largest denomination among Bangladeshi Christians. Bengali Christians are spread across the country. While there are many Christians among minority ethnic groups in the Chittagong Hill Tracts, southeastern Bangladesh, and within the Garo tribe of Mymensingh, north-central Bangladesh. The country also has Protestant, Baptist, and Oriental Orthodox churches. Christmas is a public holiday. The Constitution of Bangladesh declares Islam the state religion, but bans religion-based politics. It proclaims equal recognition of Hindus, Buddhists, Christians and people of all faiths. 330. In 1972, Bangladesh was South Asia's first constitutionally secular country. 331. Article 12 of the Constitution continues to call for secularism, the elimination of interfaith tensions, and prohibits the abuse of religion for political purposes and any discrimination against, or persecution of, persons practicing a particular religion. 332. Article 41 of the Constitution subjects religious freedom to public order, law and morality. It gives every citizen the right to profess, practice or propagate any religion, every religious community or denomination the right to establish, maintain and manage its religious institutions, and states that no person attending any educational institution shall be required to receive religious instruction, or to take part in or to attend any religious ceremony or worship, if that instruction, ceremony or worship relates to a religion other than his own. The education system is divided into 5 levels: primary, 1st to 5th grade, junior secondary, 6th to 8th grade, secondary, 9th and 10th grade, higher secondary, 11th and 12th grade, and tertiary. 337, 5 years of secondary education, including junior secondary, ends with a secondary school certificate, SSC, examination. Since 2009, the primary education closing, PEC, examination has also been introduced. Students who pass the PEC examination proceed to secondary or matriculation training, culminating in the SSC examination. Students who pass the PEC examination proceed to 3 years of junior secondary education, culminating in the Junior School Certificate, JSC, examination. Students who pass this examination proceed to 2 years of secondary education, culminating in the SSC examination. Students who pass this examination proceed to Bangladesh conforms with UNESCO's Education for All, EFA, objectives, the UN Millennium Development Goals, MDG, and other international declarations. Article 17 of the Bangladesh Constitution provides that all children between the ages of 6 and 10 years receive a basic education free of charge. University of Dhaka is the oldest university in Bangladesh. Universities in Bangladesh are of three general types: public, government-owned and subsidized; private, privately owned universities; and international, operated and funded by international organizations. They are accredited by and affiliated with the University Grants Commission, UGC. Created by Presidential Order 10 in 1973, 338. The country has 47 public, 336, 105 private, 339, and 2 international universities. Bangladesh National University has the largest enrollment. And the University of Dhaka, established in 1921, is the oldest. University of Chittagong, established in 1966, is the largest university. Campus, rural, 2,100 acres, 8.5 square kilometers. Islamic University of Technology, commonly known as IUT, is a subsidiary of the Organization of the Islamic Cooperation, OIC, representing 57 countries in Asia, Africa, Europe and South America. Asian University for Women in Chittagong is the preeminent South Asian liberal arts university for women, representing 14 Asian countries. Its faculty hails from notable academic institutions in North America, Europe, Asia, Australia and the Middle East. BUET, QUET, KUET and RUET are Bangladesh's 4 public engineering universities. BUTEX and DUET are 2 specialized engineering universities. BUTEX specializes in textile engineering, and DUET offers higher education to diploma engineers. The NITER is a specialized public-private partnership institute that provides higher education in textile engineering. Science and technology universities include Haji Muhammad Dinesh Science and Technology University, Maulana Bashani Science and Technology University, Bunga Bundu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman Science and Technology University, SUST, JUST, PUST, NSTU and PSTU. The country's first higher education institution on aerospace engineering. Bunga Bundu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman Aviation and Aerospace University, has been established in 2019 and is expected to launch its on-campus academic activities from the start of 2021. Medical education is provided by 29 government and private medical colleges. All medical colleges are affiliated with the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Bangladesh's 2015 literacy rate rose to 71% due to education modernization and improved funding, with 16,087 schools and 2,363 colleges receiving monthly pay order (MPO) facilities. According to then Education Minister Nurul Islam Nahid, 27,558 madrasas and technical and vocational institutions were enlisted for the facility. 6,036 educational institutions were outside MPO coverage, and the government enlisted 1,624 private schools for MPO in 2010, 347, 348, health. A 2007 study of 1,000 households in rural Bangladesh found that direct payments to formal and informal healthcare providers and indirect costs, loss of earnings because of illness, associated with illness were deterrents to accessing healthcare from qualified providers. 349. A community survey of 6,183 individuals in rural Bangladesh found a gender difference in treatment-seeking behavior, with women less likely to seek treatment than to men. 351. The use of skilled birth attendant (SBA) services, however, rose from 2005 to 2007 among women from all socioeconomic quintiles except the highest. 352. A Health Watch, a pilot community empowerment tool, was successfully developed and implemented in southeastern Bangladesh to improve the uptake and monitoring of public health services. Visual Arts main article, Bangladeshi Art Liberation War by Zainal Abidin. The recorded history of art in Bangladesh can be traced to the 3rd century BCE, when terracotta sculptures were made in the region. In classical antiquity, a notable school of sculptural Hindu, Jain and Buddhist art developed in the Pala Empire and the Sanar dynasty. Islamic art evolved since the 14th century. The architecture of the Bengal Sultanate saw a distinct style of domed mosques with complex niche pillars that had no minarets. Mughal Bengal's most celebrated artistic tradition was the weaving of Jamdani motifs on fine muslin, which is now classified by UNESCO as an intangible cultural heritage. Jamdani motifs were similar to Iranian textile art, Bhuta motifs, and Western textile art, Paisley. The Jamdani weavers in Dhaka received imperial patronage. 65, 360, ivory and brass were also widely used in Mughal art. Pottery is widely used in Bengali culture. The modern art movement in Bangladesh took shape during the 1950s, particularly with the pioneering works of Zainal Abidin. East Bengal developed its own modernist painting and sculpture traditions, which were distinct from the art movements in West Bengal. The Art Institute Dhaka has been an important center for visual art in the region. Its annual Bengali New Year parade was enlisted as an intangible cultural heritage by UNESCO in 2016. Modern Bangladesh has produced many of South Asia's leading painters, including S.M. Sultan, Muhammad Kibriya, Shahabuddin Ahmed, Kanak Chanpa Chakma, Kafil Ahmed, Saifuddin Ahmed, Kaim Chowdhury, Rashid Chowdhury, Kwamrul Hassan, Rafiqan Nabi and Syed Jahangir, among others. Novera Ahmed and Nitin Kundu were the country's pioneers of modernist sculpture. In recent times, photography as a medium of art has become popular. Biennial Chobi Mela is considered the largest photography festival in Asia. 361. Literature. The oldest evidence of writing in Bangladesh is the Mahasthan Brahmi inscription, which dates back to the 3rd century BCE, 362. In the Gupta Empire, Sanskrit literature thrived in the region. Bengali developed from Sanskrit and Magadhi Prakrit in the 8th to 10th century. Bengali literature is a millennium-old tradition. The Charyapadas are the earliest examples of Bengali poetry. Sufi spiritualism inspired many Bengali Muslim writers. During the Bengal Sultanate, medieval Bengali writers were influenced by Arabic and Persian works. The Chandidis are the notable lyric poets from the early medieval age. Syed Alal was a noted secular poet and translator from the Arakan region. The Bengal Renaissance shaped the emergence of modern Bengali literature, including novels, short stories and science fiction. Rabindranath Tagore was the first non-European laureate of the Nobel Prize in Literature and is described as the Bengali Shakespeare. 363. Qazi Nazrul Islam was a revolutionary poet who espoused political rebellion against colonialism and fascism. Begum Rokeya is regarded as the pioneer feminist writer of Bangladesh. 364. Other Renaissance icons included Michael Madhusudan Dutt and Sarat Chandra Chattopadhyay. Writer Syed Mujtaba Ali is noted for his cosmopolitan Bengali worldview. 365. Jazimuddin was a renowned pastoral poet. Shamsur Rahman and Al-Mahmud are considered two of the greatest Bengali poets to have emerged in the 20th century. Farooq Ahmad, Sufia Kamal, Syed Ali Ahsan, Ahsan Habib, Abul Hussein, Shahid Qadri. Fazl Shahabuddin, Abu Zafar Obaidullah, Omar Ali, Al-Mujahidi, Syed Shamsul Haq, Nirmalendu Gun, Abid Azad, Sanul Haq Khan, Hassan Hafizur Rahman, Abdul Hai Sikdar, Saeed Abu Bakr. Jafar Ahmad Rasht are important figures of modern Bangladeshi poetry. Ahmed Sofa is regarded as the most important Bangladeshi intellectual in the post-independence era. Humayun Ahmed was a popular writer of modern Bangladeshi magical realism and science fiction. Notable writers of Bangladeshi fictions include Mir Mosharraf Hussain, Akhtaruzzman Elias, Alauddin al-Azad, Shahidul Zahir, Rashid Karim, Mahmudun Haq, Syed Waliullah, Shahidullah Kaiser, Shaukat Osman, Selina Hussain, Shad Ali, Abul Kaya Muslehuddin, Razia Khan, Anasul Haq, and Abdul Manan Syed. The annual Akushi Book Fair and Dhaka Literature Festival, organized by the Bangla Academy, are among the largest literary festivals in South Asia. Women in Bangladesh. Women make up most of the workforce of Bangladesh's export-oriented garment industry that makes the highest contribution to the country's economic growth. 366, main article. Women in Bangladesh. Although, as of 2015, several women occupied major political office in Bangladesh, its women continue to live under a patriarchal social regime where violence is common. 367. Whereas in India and Pakistan women participate less in the workforce as their education increases. The reverse is the case in Bangladesh. 367. Bengal has a long history of feminist activism dating back to the 19th century. Begum Rokeya and Faizunnesa Chowdhury played an important role in emancipating Bengali Muslim women from Purdah, prior to the country's division, as well as promoting girls' education. Several women were elected to the Bengal Legislative Assembly in the British Raj. The first women's magazine, Begum, was published in 1948. The 60-dome mosque was the largest medieval mosque built in Bangladesh, and is a fine example of Turkic Bengali architecture. The Mughal style replaced indigenous architecture when Bengal became a province of the Mughal Empire and influenced the development of urban housing. The Kantaju Temple and Dakeshwari Temple are excellent examples of late medieval Hindu temple architecture. Indo-Saracenic revival architecture, based on Indo-Islamic styles, flourished during the British period. The Zamindar gentry in Bangladesh built numerous Indo-Saracenic palaces and country mansions, such as the Ahsan Manzil, Tajit Palace, Diapasha Palace, Puthia Rajbari and Nature Rajbari. The bungalow, which originated in Bengal, is a common sight. The roof style seen in the picture is common in the hilly areas of Sylhet and Chittagong. Bengali vernacular architecture is noted for pioneering the bungalow. Bangladeshi villages consist of thatched roofed houses made of natural materials like mud, straw, wood and bamboo. In modern times, village bungalows are increasingly made of tin. Muzharul Islam was the pioneer of Bangladeshi modern architecture. His varied works set the course of modern architectural practice in the country. Islam brought leading global architects, including Louis Kahn, Richard Neutra, Stanley Tigerman, Paul Rudolph, Robert Bowie and Konstantinos Doxiadis, to work in erstwhile East Pakistan. Louis Kahn was chosen to design the National Parliament complex in Sher-e Bangla Khan's monumental designs, combining regional red brick aesthetics, his own concrete and marble brutalism and the use of lakes to represent Bengali geography, are regarded as one of the masterpieces of the 20th century. In more recent times, award-winning architects like Rafiq Azam have set the course of contemporary architecture by adopting influences from the works of Islam and Khan. Performing arts. Theatre in Bangladesh includes various forms with a history dating back to the 4th century CE, 371. It includes narrative forms, song and dance forms, supra-personae forms. Performances with scroll paintings, puppet theatre and processional forms, 371. The jatra is the most popular form of Bengali folk theatre. The dance traditions of Bangladesh include indigenous tribal and Bengali dance forms, as well as classical Indian dances, including the Kathak, Odissi and Manipuri dances. The music of Bangladesh features the Baul mystical tradition. Listed by UNESCO as a masterpiece of intangible cultural heritage, 372, Fakir Lalan Shah popularized Baul music in the country in the 18th century and it has been one of the most popular music genera in the country since then. Most modern Bauls are devoted to Lalan Shah. 373. Numerous lyric-based musical traditions, varying from one region to the next, exist, including Gombhira, Bhatiali and Bawaya. Folk music is accompanied by a one-stringed instrument known as the ektara. Other instruments include the datara, dol, flute, and tabla. Bengali classical music includes Tagore songs and Nazrul Sangeet. Bangladesh has a rich tradition of Indian classical music, which uses instruments like the sitar, tabla, sarod and santoor. 374. Sabina Yasmin and Runa Layla are considered the leading playback singers in the modern time, while musician Ayub Betchu is credited with popularizing Bengali rock music in Bangladesh. The Nakshi Kantha is a centuries-old embroidery tradition for quilts, said to be indigenous to eastern Bengal, i.e. Bangladesh. The sari is the national dress for Bangladeshi women. Mughal Dhaka was renowned for producing the finest muslin saris, as well as the famed Dhakai and Jamdani, the weaving of which is listed by UNESCO as one of the masterpieces of humanity's intangible cultural heritage. 376. Bangladesh also produces the Rajshahi silk. The shalwar kameez is also widely worn by Bangladeshi women. In urban areas some women can be seen in Western clothing. The kurta and sherwani are the national dress of Bangladeshi men. The lungi and dhoti are worn by them in informal settings. Aside from ethnic wear, domestically tailored suits and neckties are customarily worn by the country's men in offices, in schools and at social events. Cuisine. Main articles: Bengali cuisine and Bangladeshi cuisine. Traditional Bangladeshi meal, mustard seed Elish curry, Dakai biryani and pitha white rice is the staple of Bangladeshi cuisine, along with many vegetables and lentils. Rice preparations also include Bengali biryanis, pulaus, and khichuris. Mustard sauce, ghee, sunflower oil and fruit chutneys are widely used in Bangladeshi cooking. Fish is the main source of protein in Bengali cuisine. The hilsa is the national fish and immensely popular across Bangladesh. Other kinds of fish eaten include rohu, butterfish, catfish, tilapia and barramundi. Fish eggs are a gourmet delicacy. Seafood holds an important place in Bengali cuisine, especially lobsters, shrimps and dried fish. Meat consumption includes chicken, beef, mutton, venison, duck and squab. In Chittagong, Mezban feasts are a popular tradition featuring the serving of hot beef curry. In Sylhet, the shatkora lemons are used to marinate dishes. In the tribal hill tracts, bamboo shoot cooking is prevalent. Bangladesh has a vast spread of desserts, including distinctive sweets like roshagolla, roshomalai, chomchom, mishti doi and kalajam. Pithas are traditional boiled desserts made with rice or fruits. Halwa is served during religious festivities. Naan, paratha, luchi and bakarkani are the main local breads. Milk tea is offered to guests as a gesture of welcome and is the most common hot beverage in the country. Kebabs are widely popular across Bangladesh, particularly Sikh kebabs, chicken tikka and shashliks. Bangladesh shares its culinary heritage with the neighboring Indian state of West Bengal. The two regions have several differences, however. In Muslim-majority Bangladesh, meat consumption is greater, whereas in Hindu-majority West Bengal, vegetarianism is more prevalent. The Bangladeshi diaspora dominates the South Asian restaurant industry in many Western countries, particularly in the United Kingdom. Festivals. Main articles: Public holidays in Bangladesh and list of festivals in Bangladesh. The annual Bengali New Year parade Pehela Baishakh, the Bengali New Year, is the major festival of Bengali culture and sees widespread festivities. Of the major holidays celebrated in Bangladesh, only Pehela Baishakh comes without any pre-existing expectations, specific religious identity, culture of gift-giving, etc., and has become an occasion for celebrating the simpler, rural roots of the Bengal. Other cultural festivals include Nabono and Posh Parban, both of which are Bengali harvest festivals. The Muslim festivals of Eid al-Fitr, Eid al-Adha, Milad-un-Nabi, Muharram, Chand Rat, Shab-e Barat, the Hindu festivals of Durga Puja, Janmashtami and Rath Yatra, the Buddhist festival of Buddha Purnima, which marks the birth of Gautama Buddha, and Christian festival of Christmas are national holidays in Bangladesh and see the most widespread celebrations in the country. The two Eids are celebrated with long streak of public holidays and give the city dwellers opportunity to celebrate the festivals with their families outside city. Alongside are national days like the remembrance of the 21st of February 1952 Language Movement Day, declared as International Mother Language Day by UNESCO in 1999, 379, Independence Day and Victory Day. On Language Movement Day, people congregate at the Shahid Minar in Dhaka to remember the national heroes of the Bengali language movement. Similar gatherings are observed at the National Martyrs Memorial on Independence Day and Victory Day to remember the national heroes of the Bangladesh Liberation War. These occasions are celebrated with public ceremonies, parades, rallies by citizens, political speeches, fairs, concerts, and various other public and private events. Celebrating the history and traditions of Bangladesh. TV and radio stations broadcast special programs and patriotic songs, and many schools and colleges organize fairs, festivals, and concerts that draw the participation of citizens from all levels of Bangladeshi society. 380. Sports. Sports main article. Sports in Bangladesh. Bangladesh team on practice session at Sher-e-Bangla National Cricket Stadium in rural Bangladesh. Several traditional indigenous sports such as kabaddi, boli khela, lathi khela and nuka bake remain fairly popular. While kabaddi is the national sport, 381, cricket is the most popular sport in the country, followed by football. The national cricket team participated in their first Cricket World Cup in 1999 and the following year was granted Test cricket status. Bangladesh reached the quarter-final of the 2015 Cricket World Cup, the semi-final of the 2017 ICC Champions Trophy, and they reached the final of the Asia Cup 3 times, in 2012, 2016 and 2018. In February 2020, the Bangladesh youth national cricket team won the Men's Under-19 Cricket World Cup, held in South Africa. This was Bangladesh's first World Cup victory. Women's sports saw significant progress in the 2010s decade in Bangladesh. In 2018, the Bangladesh women's national cricket team won the 2018 Women's T20 Asia Cup, defeating India women's national cricket team in the final. 384. Bangladesh women's national football team has also registered some success at regional level, especially the under-15 and under-18 teams. Football is a popular sport in Bangladesh, alongside cricket, 385, and is governed by the Bangladesh Football Federation, BFF. Football tournaments are regularly organized in and outside Dhaka, and football fever grips the nation during every FIFA World Cup. On 4 November 2018, Bangladesh national under-15 football team won the 2018 SAFF U15 Championship, defeating Pakistan national under-15 football team in the final. 386. Bangladesh archers Ety Khatun and Roman Sana won several gold medals, winning all the 10 archery events, both individual and team events, in the 2019 South Asian Games. The National Sports Council regulates 42 sporting federations, 388, athletics, swimming, archery, boxing, volleyball, weightlifting and wrestling, and different forms of martial arts remain popular. Chess is very popular in Bangladesh. Bangladesh has 5 grandmasters in chess. Among them, Niaz Murshed was the first grandmaster in South Asia, 389, in 2010. Mountain climber Musa Ibrahim became the first Bangladeshi climber to conquer Mount Everest, 390. He climbed the top of the summit of Mount Everest, 391. Wasfia Nazreen is the first Bangladeshi climber to climb the 7 summits, which are the highest mountains of each of the 7 continents of the world.